important. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way.
Yes, and I will share us around so people know that we are starting episode 13 of this wonderful and amazing podcast that everybody loves.
One day I'm just gonna bust out with the Good Morning Vietnam intro.
I don't know about all that, but just sharing it on Mayway, whatever you call that that group. Everybody seems to enjoy that. It's a new hot fad.
Ah.
Just share it a few more places, and then we can get the show on the road.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. Any so what are you working on any projects right now?
I am working on the Old West book, which is becoming less of an Old West book and more of a Marvel American history. And it's probably going to end up being 2 volumes. Originally, it was just going to be the Old West and the colonial era.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a couple people who were like, hey, Marvel has really done a lot of stuff. And I was like, well, okay. So I got talked into doing that. And there we are.
Cool.
Well, I don't know how cool it will actually be. I mean, I have done stats for Billy the Kid, Doc Holliday, and Wyatt Earp so far.
You've been busy.
Yeah.
All right, I think we could probably start this now. If somebody wants to pop in, they'll pop in.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Classic Faserip podcast. This is number 13. I'm Vince, sitting alongside with Keith. We are back. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
Number 13.
Yep. Been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's what happens when you go on vacation and, all sorts of other fun stuff happens.
Real life happens. That's generally what happens. But, what are you going to do, right?
That's it. I survived Hurricane Michael. Here we are.
Yes, thankfully, yes. So, while we were gone, lots of things happened. Lots of things were released. But we'll let you go find those things out by going to classicmarvelforever.com and going to the download section and grabbing all those wonderful things from there. We will go over one thing tonight, but first we just want to get a few of the comments and emails that are out of the way. First things first, we did get a 5-star review on iTunes from Reverend Dirtbag.
That is a name that will go down in infamy.
Yes, he says he loves his podcast. Back in high school in the mid-90s on Fridays, we'd all pile into his bedroom and play Marvel superheroes. Suddenly, out of nowhere, my box set disappeared. I recently got the advanced set on eBay. I'm ready to do this again. Between your podcast and Bill at Comic Book University, Professor Bill, I don't know if you've seen his videos, really good guy. Really goes into detail with his classic Faserip videos. It's worth checking them out.
I will have to check them out.
Yeah, Comic Book University, Professor Bill, he does... I would say he's a solo video person, and his videos are no less than 20 minutes long, so you make sure you have some time set aside. Because my man goes into major detail. Anyway, he said, this is all we need to rip face, so ha ha ha. Couple more comments out there. One was from Jay Libby saying thanks for the G-Core shout out, of course, because I love G-Core, and it's a great book. And Jay's pumping away with all those new supplements, just like you guys are, and he's doing the same thing with his G-Core, so.
Yep. All the cool kids are ordering G-Core, so if you're not doing it, you should be doing it.
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words. Never mind. But anyway, just released on October 30th, as of this podcast, because we're doing this in November right at the beginning here, November 3rd. Was Marvel File number 18, The Secret Defender. And here, for those who are watching along, I can actually do a screen change, and you could see it right here on the screen. uh, The Secret Defenders, October issue. And it was 16 pages. And we have a bunch of really well written up and designed super characters here. And even a comic book page to, wow. I looked at this at work when it first dropped, and I was just like, whoa. And I didn't have a chance to really dive into it because I've been busy, but I was looking at it this morning. I'm like, this is really darn good. I mean, this is like TSR level publishing here.
You know, and that was that. We have progressed in the unofficial canon group.
Yeah.
That stuff just gets better and better looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought my stuff looked pretty good, and there are people that are doing some stuff, and none of us have any sort of real experience with any of this. I don't think, not in that capacity. So, you know, when you're seeing it and you're going, man, this looks like something TSR would produce, that's because we have just, just unlimited, unfettered access to whatever we need to put it together on the internet. No holds barred. Please don't sue us because we're just doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
And I just, every time something comes out, I'm just, instantly jealous because I work with these, work in so much that we work together online, but these guys are just fantastic. And if you are not checking it out, you are losing out.
Absolutely. I mean, then he released another one I saw on the 31st, but I didn't have a chance to download that one just yet.
That is a lot of fun. That is like Silver Age horror monster 1950s Tales from the Crypt type stuff that Marvel did. And just the guy Michael, whose baby that is, who is working on I forget exactly. It's the title of the book is Lunatic Fringe, and it's about one of the characters who were used in advertisements or in novels, video games, just these fringe characters that have showed up in some sort of Marvel capacity. A lot of them are on the, might get a reference here or there, but the most of which was the hostess villains from the old Marvel Hostess cupcake stuff.
Yeah.
And it is hysterical. I mean, a lot of it is just like you're looking at it going, how do you make a character out of a page of material that's eight panels long?
Sometimes,
excuse me.
Sometimes you just have to guess, and
that's it. And this is a lot of just a lot of fun.
Well, the DC group has taken inspiration. Speaking of inspiration from y'all's project, so now they've started their own little canon project that I've jumped in to try to give some advice and help with. Because I'm obviously
get out of town. Seriously?
Yeah. It was basically two other guys, and we were doing it's called the Creative Project. That's all, and they're going to move forward with trying to just create books of superheroes that have no write-ups, or they have little write-ups, kind of like what you guys are doing, but maybe on a smaller scale because we don't have any real experience with it. But they have writeups.com, but a lot of people have been chatting up about how they didn't care for some of the stuff that was on there, and then I'm just like, well, then why don't you just do it on your own then, dude? I mean, you already write a blog, so
that's it.
And he's like, well, yeah, that's true, I do. And he's like, well, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, you write it up on the blog. Just put it inside of the blog, put it in a PDF.
And there you go.
Put it in the Facebook group, and then we can put it on a website, and people can download it. We're not making any money off of it. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah, exactly.
So, why not?
Hey, that sounds fantastic. I always thought that the stuff on writeup.org, especially the older stuff from the email list, was just absolutely fantastic. And a lot of it is just like they would give some sort of alternate version of how you could use a character, whether it was a Marvel character they could converted or a DC character that could be used in Marvel or whatever. Those guys were always great.
Well, I think what the issue came up about was that most of the people, most of the people in the group are mostly just straight up Megs fans, and they didn't care for Blood of Heroes. And Blood of Heroes obviously changed a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, this is not a DC podcast. I don't want to go on that tangent, so I apologize. I just wanted to let you know that we took the inspiration from all you guys and move forward with doing it on our own. So
Fantastic.
yeah. Anyway, so this show, number 13, is where does your inspiration come from? And Keith, you had picked this topic for this show because we were chatting back and forth months ago about what the heck we wanted to do. You had come up with the whole inspiration topic about mashing ideas together and stuff like that.
Well, and it's something that I've done in the past for different games. Probably the one that immediately comes to mind, at least for me, was a Star Wars game that was based on, of all things, Last of the Dogmen, which is a Tom Berenger movie about a group of hidden Indians living in modern day society up in the Rocky Mountains. And they're cut off from society. They have no concept of what modern day is until they are discovered by modern day people. And between that and Jurassic Park, I had this idea of, this Star Wars game, they're a group of smugglers, they end up on some backwater planet, they run afoul of some locals, and they think they're just unintelligent sort of creatures, and they realize that, no, they're actually intelligent, and they're trying to help them, and not try to eat them. So, and it was just one of those ideas where it was like, take two different ideas, put it together, and then make a story out of it.
Right.
And I like that. I've used it in the past. It's a lot of it's fun. You can, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. People tend to want to get silly with it. So, do what you want to do. Make it a fun time. I mean, that's what it's all about anyway. So,
I know one of people I used to hang out with and play games with. He always took Star Wars adventures for D&D and mixed them together, and took what was it? The Village of Hamlet, that old D&D module from back in the day, and he transferred that over to his Star Wars game, which I've never thought about doing that, but he managed to do that, and it was a fun game. I couldn't. After we were done, he's like, "Oh, that was Village of Hamlet." I'm like, "It was?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it was." I'm like, "Wow, okay, cool."
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I would love to have sat in on that. That's only because I've done the Village of Hamlet as part of the Temple of Elemental Evil.
Yeah.
Which is, if you've ever played it, it goes on for forever.
Well, yeah, he just did that one individual T1 module, so he didn't do like the whole big kaboom, Temple of Elemental Evil thing. So, but it was kind of interesting how he did it, and vaguely remembered at this point. I just remember going, "Wow, okay, that was a D&D module. That was pretty good." Had to give him a big for that one. It's not something I would have thought about doing, but you could do that. Shouldn't be that difficult.
And you can do it. You can do it for anything. I mean, and a lot of the things, for instance, any of the DC stuff, or any of the Champion stuff, or any of the Villains Vigilante stuff can be done for Marvel. You can convert any of those modules over and just run your favorite group, whether it's your players or the X-Men or the Avengers, whatever cast of characters, through that particular picture.
The one thing that I always didn't like about the DC modules for the Meg's heroes was that they were really generated for just a certain group of heroes, and that's it. Yeah. And while they said, sure, you can add your own heroes in there, it was always like didn't make sense when you added your own heroes in, because everything was kind of personalized for those set of, like, the Teen Titans or the Justice League or something. It was just like didn't seem to fit. So you'd have to do a lot of fiddling with those adventures just to make it work. And at that point, you just might as well make your own adventure. So
that's very true. That's very true. Although I felt like some of the earlier Marvel stuff was sort of like that. You would run, for instance, breeder bombs or lone wolves, and unless you're playing Iron Fist and Power Man,
Yeah.
the X-Men, it sort of doesn't make as much sense. So.
Well, yeah, I think when they first started doing those modules, they had, like DC did, had certain heroes in mind, and they weren't really thinking about people making their own heroes. And they're like, oh, everybody wants to play Captain America, everybody wants to play Spider-Man, they want to play the Hulk and Thor. No one wants to make up their own hero.
Yeah, I get it, and it's one of those things where, as time went on, people were like, "Hey, I like Captain America, and I like Thor. I really would like to play, Lord Thunderskull, Slayer of Goblins."
Yeah, I mean, that's how the game, moved on. It went from that basic edition where we were only able to play the certain group of Avengers and stuff, and then they were just like, people actually want to make their own things and want to do this. Why didn't we think about this in the first place? I mean, we did this with D&D.
That's it. So.
I would love to talk to Jeff about that and ask him what gave him the idea to be like, hey, why don't we just give him a set of certain heroes and let it roll from there? I mean, why didn't you just start with, let's make heroes?
I wonder if that was more of a Marvel-centric decision. Marvel decided, because I can see Marvel going, well, why would anybody want to play their own heroes? They wouldn't want to play the Avengers, the X-Men, or whatever. And then I'm sure the TSR people had to sit them down and tell them, look, guys, everybody loves these characters, but really players who play these games want to play their own character. They don't want to play Robin Hood in AD&D. They want to play their own version of whatever. They don't want to play, playing Superman's nice, but that's a difficult role play. That's like Captain America. It's, you're either, how's the AD&D phrase go? Lawful stupid? If you're playing a paladin, so you got to be really careful. But otherwise, you just come off as this. Oh God, playing Captain America again.
Yeah, well, nothing you can do about that. So I'm honestly wondering, could you mash up the Avenger movies and to make it one big adventure? You think you could do that?
I don't see why you couldn't. I don't know, Thanos.
Be a lot of big bads.
Yeah, that'd be. Oh yeah. Again, I don't see why you couldn't do it. I did an X-Men game that was sort of took its cue part way from Ultimate X-Men, part way from the movies, and had a lot of players who loved it and played it for a couple years, and then it was just like, okay, X-Men's done. It's just hey, look, Star Wars Episode 2 is coming out. Let's play Star Wars. So,
well, my campaign for Marvel just hit 1 year this month, so we've been actually playing the villains for 1 year. We had a small little break between November and December when we couldn't play. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, but other than that, we've been, every 2 weeks we met up, recorded, and played. Yeah. So we've been 1 full year towards the end of this month. So, and we're playing villains, so it's not like we were just playing, one-shot things. It's an ongoing campaign of just villainy and stupidity all together in one.
And I gotta commend you for that, because every time I've ever tried something like a villain campaign, it became, pardon the expression, a pissing contest as to who could be the most vile person in the room. And maybe it was just a lack of age, and I've thought about doing maybe like a Suicide Squad type game for Marvel. Do it like Thunderbolts.
That was my original idea, but yeah, go on.
And my idea was that it would be a government program run by, and the instant I thought about this, I thought it was so perfectly named group. Thunderbolt Ross. Have him, General Thunderbolt Ross. You have him running the group,
Yeah.
and he is the doing Black Ops and Genosha and I don't know Slovakia and Latveria and wherever else, and you have this group of villains doing Black Ops for the U.S. government. And I always thought, that would be an excellent idea for a game. And just, I've been playing an AD&D game for a couple years now, and when it rotates back around for my turn at bat, I think I'm going to suggest that or whatever, come up with something, So, but yeah, I always thought that was a really excellent idea, and I think you could do the Avengers movie. Getting back to your original question, you would have to literally do your own version of how all these characters found one another. I guess you could run it as an adventure for an Avengers team, but I mean, if you actually wanted to go the whole, you guys had never met before, suddenly you're having to team up to work against Loki and Thanos and Ultron, which, that right there, you're talking a heck of a battle. So
yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, it wouldn't probably work unless they were some type of Avenger type team. So yeah, Junior Avengers or something. West Coast Avengers.
Midwest Avengers.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't work that well, but I mean, it really depends on what you're playing and how you're playing. I mean,
that's it.
I do look forward to. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do look forward to the next movie to see how they reconcile all this chaos that that Thanos had started here.
That'll be entertaining to watch, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, and as soon as they talked about Thanos being in it, and the Infinity started talking about the Infinity Stones, I said, well, they're gonna are they trying to do like the Infinity War? Is that what they're trying to do? And then the more I saw of it, and especially they sort of ruined, at least spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Avengers 3 at this point. Okay. The line from the trailer where Gamora is talking about, Thanos with a snap of his finger could wipe out half the universe. And I'm thinking, oh my God, are they really going to go that? Or are they going to go there? And I thought, man, that's a pretty big thing, because we all know from the comic books, if you've read the comic books, you know what that is, and you know how that resolves. But your average movie-going person who has no clue what's happening, all they see is a snap of the finger, and suddenly Peter Parker turns into dust, and you have a group of Avengers that are left, spread out across wherever, and a bunch that you got really attached to really quick that are no longer there. And it's like, I had people who were like, man, how are they going to resolve this? Dude, you got any ideas? And I'm like, I got a couple. Let me show you this trade paperback.
Yeah. Once you flip open to this one,
yeah.
One I'm really interested in seeing how they handle is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Obviously, you saw that movie already.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert! At the very, very end, after the credits, he gets trapped, and I don't get whatever world that was supposed to be, or universe, because they all got zapped by the snap, and he's trapped in there. So I'm kind of interested to see how they get him out of there.
Yeah. The microverse or the quantum realm or whatever it is they're calling it.
Because
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was absolutely, when that movie came out, I tried to avoid all spoilers for that, because I had a feeling it was gonna have some snap consequence in there, but I wasn't. I was thinking, all right, maybe they won't, because they didn't do it on a lot of the Marvel TV shows. They mentioned things like the incident in New York, things like that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't do anything, which was very disappointing. And I'm like, all right, maybe they won't. Then the credits rolled. I'm like, All right, maybe they didn't. And there was that last scene, and when he was going, guys, and my wife's like, what's going on? I go, the snap. And it flashed over to them going, poof. And she's like, oh, crap. And then it ends. I'm just like, oh, that was a good cliffhanger for a Marvel movie. I was like, good job, boys. Good job.
That's it. And then we had the shot of the ant playing the drum.
That was kind of cheesy, but
well, at least they're putting that thing to some use.
Yeah, wow, they paid for it.
Yeah. But no, like I said, it's one of those things where I think a lot of it can be done. A lot of it, you can take anything. I mean, I've put dialects on a beach and created in the '60s and created a monsters rising from the depths of the ocean to attack innocent beach-going teenagers. You can do anything with it.
I did include the snap in my game as part of. I decided the cinematic Marvel universe is part of my universe in my game, so the Thanos snap did happen in my game. Because what happened during the game was I lost a player, and I wanted to explain him going away, so I decided, let's use the Thanos snap. Well, little did I know, 2 weeks later, he was like, hey, I can come back to play. So I had to figure out a way to bring him back into the universe without retconning it. So at the time, the group had gone to the What If universe. Yeah, I went into the What If universe too. They were villains, so I had what if they were good guys. But I had a twist to that. What if they were good guys? Their body, their essence and soul went into the good guys' bodies. So their evil soul remained, but they had to pretend to be good. While the good guys' souls went over to the evil side. So I had the snap soul go over to the evil guy, so he had a dual personality inside the one character, and I had him rolling a die to see, evens, he was the good guy, odds, he was the bad guy, so we had him rolling and switching between personalities throughout the adventure while the whole team's trying to figure out which one is which, depending on his actions. So it was kind of interesting and fun at the same time doing that.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of work. But It sounds fantastic. I mean, like I said, I got to commend you for being able to hold all that together for a year. So are you going to? Was anybody else taken out with the snap, or was that just? Did you have them roll randomly?
I actually had the most of the Avengers taken out except for the core team, just like the movie, and Johnny Depp. Long story short, one of the players, of course, developed an attachment with Johnny Depp because it was a random roll of a person coming by in a really fancy car when they were in Hollywood. And they wound up kidnapping Johnny Depp in his Viper and driving across country, and one of the players started becoming bros with him. So he developed a relationship when he came here back to Texas with him in the game, and they went to main event and they went bowling together and everything, and then he died in the snap, so it was a whole thing of trying to find his soul and everything. So crazy things happen when you do random rolls.
Oh my god. Yeah. It's that is insane.
The whole campaign is insane. That's all I have to say.
Well, I mean, the idea that you've got Johnny Depp being kidnapped and then, through some sort of Stockholm syndrome, becomes best friends with his kidnapper and they go bowling together. I mean, I just have this vision of, and obviously it's not their home universe, so they'll never know the consequences of it. But what would be hysterical is the media getting a hold of it, paparazzi, who is Johnny Depp's new boy toy? Who is Johnny Depp's new friend?
Oh yeah, and then we had you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah.
So you remember the LMD Ada?
Yeah.
I had my version of Ada in the game for one of the players' characters' name is William Stark. He's supposed to be the nephew of Tony Stark. He's following around the same footsteps of being a genius, except he has psychic powers. That's the only difference. But he invented a robot that basically turned itself into an AI and then turned itself into an LMD and started reproducing and becoming a psychopath, but only loved him. But the rest of the group just gave a hard time to and tortured the hell out of them. And he was just like, what? She's cool. Because she didn't do anything to him, that's all.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, I get kind of crazy when I'm, improving on my adventures, so.
Well, and not even just you, but I mean, that's, that's just one of those things where you're sitting there going, how does a play, how as a player do I react to this? Do I make nice with the robot, or do I just sick it on people? If you really love him, you would go take my cousin's company away from me.
Surprisingly, he did not attempt to take over, and he just used his cousin as a contact and, like, called him for favors and things like that. And he never actually did any harm to him. He was like, oh, cool with Tony Stark, so I don't know.
Oh, come on now. If any of you players are listening, you guys have got to step up the game. I want to hear that Tony Stark has been taken out, Stark taken over. Get him drunk on a weekend bender somewhere and leave him down in Mexico. I won't go in. I won't come up with anything crazier than that, because I assure you I could. But it's one of those things where they got to step up their game on that. They got to take out Tony Stark. Or they got to take out somebody. I want to hear, like, not necessarily violence, because that's that's easy enough to do.
They've done enough violence as villains to just at one point they were going around Dallas destroying buildings because they were trying to find someone to attack, and I was just because they were nobodies that got these, like, inhuman like powers after some explosion, and they were pretty much nobody, so no one knew they were there, and there's no real heroes in Dallas, Texas at all. So who's going to come after them unless they do something to make them come after them? And finally, after various adventures of them crushing buildings and destroying things and puddling people with their powers, the X-Men finally showed up because they're like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then I had the Fantastic Four show up and things like that. And, I had the heroes coming down to them because they wouldn't leave the area. And then finally they started leaving the area, going to Florida and moving around and causing chaos elsewhere. And they formed a partnership with Doctor Doom. And it's pretty wild ride, some people have said.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and you got to question partnership with Doom, first off. Because, Doom does not suffer at the hands of anyone. And he'll use them to whatever is to his advantage. And then when he's had enough of them, bye-bye.
Well, I was kind of ad-libbing the Doctor Doom thing, and I was trying to create a new supergroup, and I'm like, League of Villains. And everyone's like, love? I'm like, crap. Dr. Doom's Group of Love is what it was called for a little while.
Oh my god.
League of Villains, love, so.
Somewhere in North Carolina, a friend of mine is just absolutely dying over that. So.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we did, and
So no, and that's cool. That's that's one of those things where you got to do your own thing and have as much fun with it as you can. And I'm glad that like I said, you've inspired me. I would really like to be able to run my Thunderbolts game in some. I may have to sit down and try to figure that out.
Why not? Yeah, definitely go for it.
So it's just a matter of finding the right players for it.
I think that the thing is the group is used to working together, and I gave them the background that they were all friends in high school, and they stayed pretty much in touch after high school, and then the incident happened, so they were all familiar and buddies with each other, so maybe that's why they stayed. They did have their inter-party fights, like any good villains. One of them tried to push another one to the breaking point of making him super evil. He didn't think he was evil enough, so he pushed him to the point of hiring a bunch of low-level thugs to go kill his family to push him over the edge. So then he found out about it, and it was a whole thing. They were chasing each other around for a while. So yeah, they had to do some memory wipes and things like that. And yeah, that's what happens with villains.
You can't kill my parents.
Oh, he went after his wife and his kid.
Oh my god, that's even. Okay, so let me ask you this: have you watched Daredevil season 3?
I have not. No, not yet.
Oh my god. Oh my. I don't. I felt bad when I. Let me rephrase that. I really didn't feel too bad when Iron Fist got canceled. I mean, obviously people are out of it. It's sort of sad. I thought, well, they're just going to fold that into uh, Power Man. They're going to make Heroes for Hire. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing here. And then they canceled Power Man, and I'm like, wow, that's it's pretty bold. Yeah, they got to be doing Heroes for Hire. And then like both of them have released statements saying, well, it was great to play these characters. I'm sure we have other stuff we'll be doing for Marvel. And I'm thinking, dude, your shows got canceled. You'll never show back up again. I mean, best you can hope for is to show up on Agents of Shield. And
I heard that they were canceled due to the snap, is what people were saying. I don't know how true that was, but they got caught up in the Thanos snap.
I think that's what a lot of fans would like to wish for. My understanding is this was sort of put out there afterwards. They lost like half of their viewers coming
Oh,
into the second season.
oh, that stinks.
Yeah, and Netflix and Marvel were like, well, we went from X number of people to Y number of people, and there's just not enough money to justify keeping it there. So, which
Eh,
is sad.
yeah. I mean, if you don't have the viewership, you can't do it. I mean, the only thing that's doing well for them ratings wise is what Daredevil and Punisher right now.
Yep.
Even
Yeah.
even Agents of Shield has dropped off to the point that they have a semi season coming up,
Yeah.
which I'm
So
sad to see that show go.
you know that was another one that they talked about. I can remember when they were talking about, there's only going to be like half a season 6 or whatever. And do it. Basically, the head of ABC was like, "Oh no, we like Agents of Shield. We're not canceling it. We're just giving them an opportunity. They won't be back until after Avengers 4 comes out. That way, there's no spoilers. You don't know if they survived this or they did." And
Ah,
I'm like, "Oh, okay." You know,
so they aren't being canceled like they originally were saying they were being canceled. Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, So, but no, I've enjoyed Agents of Shield. I thought that the absolute best casting on there, spot on 100%, was the guy who played Adrian Pissar, who played Graviton,
Yeah,
and looks just like him. And I mean, this is a guy who's been all over in Heroes. He played in Near Dark, 80s, and I kept thinking, well, he's going to show up on something. And he, of course, showed up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Glenn Talbot, which I would just laughed every time that happened. Because I kept thinking, why isn't Thunderbolt Ross in here somewhere yelling at him? And you would have. And it's sort of sad to me that they separated as much as they do. So,
I'm disappointed of no Coulson being in the show anymore because he was like my top favorite guy on that show. The one I was like always look forward to his sarcasm and stupid comments here and there. Now that he's not going to be in it anymore, I was kind of like meh.
yeah. How are you going to explain this? Daisy is the leader. Okay, you say so.
I mean, I kind of liked maybe Mac being the leader, but I don't know. He's too wishy washy most of the time. So
When I tell you another one that I was sad that they canceled is Agent Carter.
I started getting into that, and everyone's like, "Nah, dude, don't bother. It's got canceled. It stinks." So I was just like, "All right." So I stopped watching it.
The first season I thought was really good. The second season I thought could have been a little better, but it wasn't bad because it dealt with like 1950s Marvel gangsters and stuff. You had the Magia, you had God, what is? There was even a reference to the Two Gun Kid in it.
Wow.
They were talking about, yeah, they did a bit about Howard Stark owning like Stark Studios, and they were making the Two Gun Kid movie. And Peggy gives him some grief about, aren't you a little old for the comic book sort of stuff? And he goes, no, the Two Gun Kid is a real character, is a real person. Historically, he was based on a person. And I thought, man, this is fantastic. You have a prime opportunity to be able to fill in all these little gap holes. You know, I'm thinking somewhere in some part of the MCU, there is an Invaders movie to be told, set in the 40s. You could do it, and I always thought that the best way that they could have done it was just to do a montage scene in Captain. Cut from him fighting in 42 or whatever and you segue across. You have the different battle scenes, whatever. And you can talk about how, the time he met that Horton's artificial man for the World's Fair, and you'd have him like shaking hands with the Golden Age Human Torch. Though you probably want to give Toro something other than a pair of Speedos. And if you ever go back and you read those comics, they're really weird because Bucky has got like a full costume, and Bucky is in normal clothing, and Cap, and everybody else, except for like Namor sits around in shorts, Toro sits around in shorts, and I'm like, this is really just strange that they're just sitting there in shorts, like, oh, it's okay, just hanging out, we're just gonna have dinner and eat in our shorts. Yes.
What are you gonna do?
That's it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, those are some ideas you can use for adventures and things like that. And I don't know. I think we got off topic a little bit, but whatever.
It's been a while. Blame it on that. And let's be honest here. If the idea of in the image of Toro in his shorts eating dinner didn't give you ideas for adventure, I don't know, whatever.
For the supper the supper adventure, you can figure out what you want for dinner while in your shorts.
That's it.
But if you want to ask us any questions, head over to the classicfaserip.com website or hit us up at askthedm@theevildm.com, where you can email me a question and we can read it on the air. Go over to iTunes and give us a rating if you possibly can, and write us a review if you have a few moments. That we'd appreciate that. Every review helps push our podcast into the view of other people and helps more people see the show and download the show. So we appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everybody who shows up and listens to us talk, whether we stay on topic or we get wildly off of it.
Well, that's the point. We're here to talk about Marvel and babble about Marvel, so that's what they love to hear about. So,
absolutely. And I mean, I always try to get something, So we do have a lot that has come out in the time since our last podcast. We finalized the Hercules book and it's out. We finalized the Thor book, it's out. Golden Age, Silver Age source books are out. There is a Marvelous Marvel Mythology. Volume 3 is getting ready to come out shortly. A series of Marvel files that have been out. So I mean, plenty to be found.
Right.
Hopefully everybody's enjoying it.
Well, hopefully they will. If they can go to classicmarvelforever.com, head to the download section, and see all the great netbooks and net enhancements over there that you guys have done. You can also join the Marvel Unofficial Canon Project on Facebook to jump in there and help out if you're interested in learning more about how to do it. I'm sure someone will, kind of guide you through it. I mean, not do it for you, but they'll absolutely give you advice, because I've seen plenty of people jump in, how do I do this? And people are like, boom, 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 comment. So,
oh yeah,
everybody's very helpful in that group.
And just as updates, of sorts. We are doing a gamer's handbook of the universe that is a compilation of the most recent official handbook to the Marvel Universe A to Z hardback. This project has been led by George Henson, who Volume 1 is done. We're in the process of putting it together so that, layout and whatnot. But it is fantastic. We are working on Volume 2. I did the characters that I chose. And the last one that I've finally got together was a write up of Captain America that is probably the single longest write up I've ever done of a character, but it covered all the gadgets that he's used over the years, including the Fabian Stankiewicz vest when he was the deterioration of the Super Soldier Serum, the Proton Shield. I did stats for pre-serum Captain Steve Rogers, post-serum pre-Invaders Steve Rogers. And this was actually something I was going to do for the Golden Age book. And the more I looked at it, I was like, this really wouldn't work the way I wanted it. And there's not really much of a basis for Steve Rogers outside of Captain America. Okay, so I've got, stats for Steve Rogers before the serum. That's great. What does this give me? What can I do with this? And other than a couple small adventures in the comics, they really don't even cover that in part of his life. I think the most you see of it is probably the movie, or not movie, but the comic series Sentinel of Liberty, Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, which was done in the early 90s. And that had probably the most comprehensive background of what life was like for Steve Rogers just before he became captain. And so it's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait for everybody to see it. I'm not sure when we're actually going to get around to releasing the first one, because it is a heck of a job to sit and go through. People that are doing it in this work.
This was the question you were asking the other day about his deceased unnamed brother.
Yeah,
it's part of the research you were doing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was crazy. It was I saw a reference to it, and I was like, "What deceased undead? What deceased younger brother?" And I think that has a lot to do with the Hydra Captain America that they did.
It was during those issue numbers, so yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just was like, that's not even really Captain America. That's not the Captain America we all know and love. So I'm not even going to bother to put that in there. But I mean, I know back in I want to say it was late 70s, that Steve Gerber went in and rewrote the history so that he had an older brother who died during Harbor. And I'm like, but okay, that really doesn't make much sense. And his parents were from Maryland. They weren't from Brooklyn, they weren't Irish immigrants. His dad worked for the State Department. If you read it, it just reads really like, whose idea was this? How did this come about? We need to come up with something better than that. And thankfully, it wasn't even 2 years later. Roger Stern and John Byrne retconned it out of existence. Oh, it was a memory implant. See, and I think that's where they opened that can of worms. Now Wolverine's got nothing but memory.
I don't even know what they're doing with Wolverine, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't read an X-Men book probably since Claremont left. And I'm talking like, the last time he put it out. Yeah, I feel you on that. A lot of it's in, I have no concept of what they're doing anymore.
I tried reading Gold, X-Men Blue, and then X-Men Red. I kind of like the Jean Grey that they did for 9 or 10 issues before they made it into something else, which I couldn't keep up with it. They kept changing the X-Men comics in the last year that I was just like, all right, I'm done. Did one of those, tapped out. I couldn't. I couldn't keep up with them. I didn't know what they were doing. And they brought back Uncanny X-Men. I was just like, okay. I bowed out, gracefully bowed out.
Well, then, as much as I enjoyed seeing the young X-Men, they never should have been brought to the present day Marvel Universe and allowed to run around for years at a time before somebody finally got the idea of wanting to send him back and having to send him back. And it's like, this is just insane. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm sure there were great stories told or good stories told, but at the same time, you're talking about a group of characters. It'd be like taking, I don't know, Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, bringing him to modern day, and then keeping him. How in the heck does that work? Doesn't he have a whole life full of adventures? He's got to go. Doesn't he have to go be responsible and with great power, that sort of stuff?
Something like that.
Something like that. So, but hey, it is what it is. It's Marvel Comics.
Yep. I think on that note, we're going to bow out for tonight. We'll call this an episode of inspiration with random ideas. Hopefully they gave you ideas for your adventure, listening to our crazy ideas. Yeah, that's the name of the show. Right.
Well, in worst case scenario, there's always figure to eat for dinner.
Yes. So we're going to say goodnight, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.